Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to learn about the observer design pattern. So the agenda for this tutorial video is getting introduction to the observer design pattern, seeing some real world use cases. Then we are going to implement code in Python. Lastly, we are going to see the summary of these use cases. Now the observer design pattern, it comes under the category of behavioral design patterns, and it is widely used for the implementation of real world systems where a change in one object needs to be notified automatically to one or more such other objects, which are called observers. The object that where the change is made is called the subject, and the objects that listen for the change are called the observers. So without modifying the existing code, we can add more observers to the same subject. In a observer design pattern, there are mainly two different components. The first one is also called subject, observable, or the publisher. It is an object that is being observed, meaning it is the object which is getting listened for the changes. It maintains a list of the observers or the subscribers and notifies them of any changes that are made to it. And the others are the observers, or also called the subscribers, that are dependent objects that needs to be notified of the changes in the subject. Now let's get into the code. Now the two main components of observers are the subscriber and the publisher. So let's implement a subscriber. We are going to use classes to implement the subscribers and the publishers. So what a publisher is going to do is it is going to emit a message to all the subscribers. Okay, so a subscriber, a publisher should have list of all the subscribers. So I'm going to store the list of all the subscribers within a array, and then there is going to be a method that is adding subscriber to a publisher. We will call this method as register, and it will take a subscriber and it will simply add the subscriber to the list of all available subscribers for that publisher. Now the main method that we need in the publisher is the one that is going to emit message to all the subscribers, right? So let's just call this method as emit message. Okay, and what it is going to do is it is going to emit a message to all the subscribers, right? So for subscriber and self dot underscore subscribers, what we are going to do is that we are going to emit a message which is we are going to invoke a message which is called receive message on the subscriber object, and also this is going to take the real message. Now let's implement the subscriber class. The subscriber class, it should have first of all, let's give some name to the subscribers. So within the constructor, what we are going to do is we are going to take name for a subscriber, then we are going to assign that name to the object, subscriber object, and then we are going to have another method which is called receive message on the subscribe. So what it is going to do is it is simply going to print the message, and we can format this message. We can say self.name, which is the name of the current subscriber, received message, and then the content of the message. Let's just make it a string. Okay, now we have the subscriber and we also have the publisher. Let's create a publisher, which is simply an instance of the publisher class, and then we have different subscribers. Claire is one subscriber, and the name is Claire, and John is another subscriber. And then we have another subscriber, which is Arpita. All right. Right. And now we are going to register all of these different subscribers to our publisher. So let's publisher dot register the subscriber. Let's register Claire. Then we are also going to register John and Arpita. All right. So we have registered all of these three different subscriber to our publisher. Now what the publisher is going to do is that publisher is going to emit some message. Hello, how are you? This is a message from publisher. All right, so it's just a simple message. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to run this file, and as you can see, Claire received a message. Hello, how are you? This is a message from publisher. Similarly, John also got a message, and Arpita also got the same message. All right, so this is the benefit. We can register as many users as we want with this publisher, and for that we don't need to modify the existing code. We can just write an extra line, which is publisher dot register, and then we can just add our new subscriber over here. Right, so this is how it is easy it is. There is not strong coupling between the subscriber and the publisher, right? They are not dependent on each other. We do not see strong coupling using something like composition or inheritance, right? So this was a simple implementation of the observer design pattern. You can just imagine it can be something like for example, it can be something like a mailing list. So it can be like a mailing list subscriber, and it can be like here we can have mailing list publisher. So you can see that we have mailing list from different services and different companies. For example, if you are subscribed to the mailing list of Amazon AWS, then you will be getting different promotional emails or other emails from Amazon AWS. Similarly, if you are in the mailing list of something like a clothing e-store, then you will be getting different notifications through email or messages about the discounts, the different offers, about the new stock they are getting, things like that. Right, so here you can have the mailing list publisher, and here we can have something like a send mail, right? And here we can have the actual mail implementation. Okay, so the send mail, what it will do is that it will have all the subscribers, and then we can send the mail to all the different subscribers, and we can invoke a different message, which is receive email. So we can have a different method called receive email on the subscriber, and the mail can have the message, and it can also have information about the sender, right? So for the information about the sender, what we can have is that the publisher here can also have some name. All right, so we will assign the name to the publisher in the constructor. And now when we are sending email, the receive email method on the subscriber can take some extra arguments. For example, it can take the name of the sender, which is self.name, or in this case, and then the actual message. You can send other arguments as well, like the title of the email, or other email address information, etc. All right, but let's just keep it simple like this. Now the subscriber should have a receive email method on it. All right, so we are going to implement this receive email method in the subscriber. The mailing list subscriber now also takes the sender as the first argument, and the message is the second argument, right? So here you can have the actual implementation of sending mail to some uh, subscriber. With the subscriber, in the implementation of the subscriber, you can also have the email for the subscriber as an another argument. So now we also have the email of the subscriber, and within the receive email, we can have some logic that just uh, sends the email from one account to another. Right here, we can have the sender email, and the other thing, which is the receiver email itself, the subscriber email. We already have access to that as well, right? So we can implement the logic, but let me just keep it simple. Now you can have the self.name received uh, email from the name of the publisher, which is basically sender, and this is not sender mail right now. It is just a sender variable that tells about the who the sender is, right? So it is going to simply print self.name, which is the current mailing list subscriber, received email from sender, which is the publisher itself, uh, with content, and then the actual message. Okay, all right. So here we have to update the code. The publisher here will be, uh, the publisher is also going to have a name. Let's just call it uh, Udemy. Okay, so Udemy is the publisher, and it is not publisher now. It is mailing list publisher, and similarly, the subscribers are mailing list subscribers, right? So now the code is going to be the same for registering. It's a simple register method that just adds these different subscribers, these mailing list subscribers, to our mailing list publisher. And then finally, the publisher is going to have a method invoke send mail, and let's just keep this the same message. Hello, how are you? Uh, how are you? This is uh, an email from publisher, and then we can have the name of the publisher. Or I think we don't need to do this. This is already getting the name of the publisher will all get logged, since it is there in the logic of the subscriber. Now let me rerun this code. And here you can see, if I rerun this, clear received email from Udemy with content. Hello, this is an email for from publisher, and similarly you can see it on John, and here you can see it on Arpita. Okay, so this was the code implementation. Now let's see some of the real world use cases of the observer design pattern. It gets used in the graphical user interfaces, for example, in the button sliders. Whenever the user make changes in the user interfaces, all of this information executes some logic on the back end. So the logic that gets to be executed is in the form of a method in some programming language. So the method gets invoked once we made some change on the front end or the GUI. So these are the event listeners that are running, and they follow the observer design pattern under the hood, where you can see the observable or the publisher is the GUI, the button, the sliders, and the subscribers are the methods that are looking for those different event changes and execute some logic. Also, you can see this observer design pattern getting used in event system, messaging systems, reactive systems, in the JavaScript event listeners like on click, on hover, etc. And then pub sub systems. It is also getting used in the web hooks. Web hooks execute some logic on the cloud, it on the internet based upon some event occurring. For example, whenever you have some pull request made on GitHub, you can send a message on your Slack channel so that others are notified about it. For some another example, in some web app, we can have multiple listeners that are listening for the user logged in event. So once the user is logged in, this event is emitted and some logic that was listening for this particular event gets executed. In the model view controller architecture, which is a very famous software architecture, the view is the one that the user interacts with. The view takes the user inputs and user does some events. And in the model view controller architecture, which is a very famous software design architecture, the view observes the models, meaning the model is the actual data that is getting stored. And whenever the changes are made to the model or the data, the view reflects those changes. Meaning, for example, we are storing the to-dos for a user in models. Then once the to-do is marked completed, then also on the view side, which is what the user interacts with, the front end, the user will see the to-do to be marked as done. Then finally, the social media and other notification system, here it is used heavily. For example, if your someone posts a photo, video, or reel, then all of their followers gets notified. For example, on Twitter, Facebook, etc., this observer like behavior is used to push updates to the followers. Also on YouTube, once a channel posts some video, all of the subscribers of that channel gets the video in their feed. Now coming to the summary, we can see the observer design pattern getting used in UI frameworks where the logic gets executed, which is listening for changes in the publisher, which is the button clicks, and the text change, the slider changes. All of these events, they are the publishers, and the listeners are the logic that executes on the backend. In web development, the DOM events are example of it. The React use effect is also another example of it. There is one more example of it, which is the Redux library. Once you make change to the central store in the Redux library, all of the different UI sections or components that are listening for the change in that use store gets updated automatically. The observer design pattern, it is also used in the Kafka consumers, RabbitMQ subscribers. These are different message queues. Publisher pushes some messages in the messaging queue, and then there are different subscribers which are continuously listening for those messages. Then in the MVC framework, you can also see the observer design patterns where the view gets updated whenever the data or the model changes. Observer design patterns can also be easily seen in the real-time application. For example, the live stock price update and the weather forecasting and sports score updates, where the dashboard gets updated once the score gets updated. And on the social media platforms, you also see the user notification whenever the user who you are following posts or comments. Then it is also getting used in the monitoring systems like Prometheus, Grafana, etc. for different matrices and logging. You can see it whenever the some user makes a request, HTTP request to some web server, it gets logged automatically by the logger, since the logger is continuously listening for HTTP web requests. So here the logger is a subscriber and the HTTP request is what that publishes a message.